Welcome back to the In the Clinic podcast with Rob. And if you are looking to change your life and take data and deliver it into decades, this is the podcast for you. So welcome back. Again, my name is Rob Sumner, owner of Specialized Physical Therapy, Specialized Strength Fitness, and home of the Superhuman Protocol. Welcome back. In the first episode, we talked about something that most people do not realize is quietly slipping away as they age, and that is aerobic capacity. We talked about their VO2 max, the ability of the body to take in oxygen and turn it into usable energy. And we talked about how the single marker is one of the strongest predictors of how long and how well someone will live. And then in the second episode, we opened the curtain on metabolic testing. And we talked about how we can now measure things, not just VO2 max, but metabolic flexibility, resting metabolic rate, breathing frequency, and how those measurements give us insight into how someone's energy system is functioning. But today I want to zoom out and talk about something even bigger and truly what this means for individuals in our area around Stevens County. Because when you step back and look at our community, you see something special. This is a place full of people who work hard, people who have built businesses, people who have worked in mills, on farms, in construction, in schools. People who have raised families, people who carried real responsibilities. But something often happens around the mid-50s or early 60s, and the curve begins to shift. Energy starts to drop, activity decreases, injuries start to accumulate. People move less. And over time, that creates what we might call the decline curve. Now, the decline curve is something that we see across the country. It doesn't happen because people suddenly stop caring about their health. It happens because the body slowly loses capacity. Muscle mass decreases, mitochondrial function decreases, aerobic capacity falls, recovery slows, and when those things decline together, well, the body becomes more fragile. And this is what leads to what doctors call frailty. Frailty is not simply weakness, because frailty is a loss of physiological reserve. It means that the body has less ability to handle stress, less ability to recover from illness, less ability to bounce back from injury. And when frailty sets in, simple things become harder. Getting off the floor, climbing stairs, walking longer distances, carrying in your groceries. Even standing up from a chair can become a challenge. But here's the key point. Frailty doesn't begin at 80. It often begins decades earlier. The trajectory that determines how someone feels at 75 often begins in their 50s. And that's where something powerful becomes possible. Because if decline happens gradually, improvement can happen gradually too. I like to think about two possible curves as we age. The first is the decline curve, but the second is what we might call the vitality curve. And the vitality curve is what happens when someone brings improving the systems that drive energy. They improve their cardiovascular system, their muscles, their metabolism, their mitochondria, their aerobic capacity. When those systems improve, something interesting happens. People feel younger. Not because they are younger chronologically, but because they're physiologically become stronger. They actually are. They climb hills without getting winded. They recover faster from activity, they sleep better, they have more energy during the day, and they begin doing the things they love again. Hiking, fishing, hunting, playing with their grandkids, traveling, living actively. The difference between those two curves often comes down to something very simple. Direction. Are we guessing or are we measuring? Because measurement changes behavior. When someone sees their VO2 max number, it becomes real. When they see how their body burns fuel, it becomes understandable. When they see their metabolic rate, it becomes actionable. Suddenly, health isn't vague anymore. It's measurable. And when something is measurable, well, it can be improved. And this is one of the reasons athletes have used physiological testing for decades. They measure performance markers. They train intentionally. They track progress. And their physiology just really improves. And the exciting thing today is that this level of insight is no longer limited to elite athletes. It's available to everyday people in their 50s, 60s, 70s. People who simply want to stay strong and capable. So at our clinic, our mission has always been very simple. Help people move better, help people feel stronger, help people stay independent. Physical therapy plays a role in that. Strength training plays a role in that. Recovery strategies play a role. And now, metabolic analysis gives us another powerful tool because it allows us to understand the engine behind all of those systems. The cardiovascular engine, the metabolic engine, the energy production system inside the body. And once we understand that system better, we can guide exercise and lifestyle changes more effectively. And over time, those small improvements add up. More capacity, more resilience, more vitality. So let me leave you with a vision. What if Stevens County became known not just for its natural beauty, but for the vitality of its people? Think of a blue zone. What if Stevens County became the next blue zone? What if people in their 60s and 70s were known for staying active? What if grandparents could keep up with their grandkids? What if retirement didn't mean slowing down, but just shifting into a new chapter of active living? That kind of future doesn't happen by accident. It happens when people start paying attention to the systems that drive their health, when they begin measuring instead of guessing, when they take small steps towards improving their physiology. Because the truth is, longevity is not just about living longer. It's about maintaining the strength, the energy, and independence that really makes life meaningful. And if you're curious about where you stand right now, about your health of your own metabolic engine, we now have the ability to measure that. Not to label you, not to judge you, but to give you a starting point. A place from which improvement becomes possible. Because once you understand your physiology, well, you can change your whole trajectory. And that's what this entire series has been about. Helping people move from guessing to understanding, to improving the systems that will carry them into the decades ahead. So overall, thank you for listening. Thank you for learning about the Pinoy metabolic system. And if you're out there wondering how you can get this test specifically for you to help identifying what you need to do moving forward so you're using precision, not guessing, then message us wherever you're listening. Call our office. Go to our website. There's plenty of ways to contact us and see how we can help you use the Pinoy Metabolic Analyzer to determine the best path for you moving forward for your health, wellness, your longevity, and truly your health span for not days, but for decades. Thanks for listening. See you next time.